Hey gamers, Maniac here with GameAccess.net, doing another Mind of Maniac. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're looking at the title below and you're saying to yourself, what the heck is this? I thought this guy was talking about video games, or I thought this guy was a how-to channel or something like that. He did a video about Pokemon, he does a video about theme parks, and now what is he doing? He's doing a video about art. What the heck is going on here? This is a YouTube channel about gaming. And this video actually will tie into gaming, I swear. I am not much of an artist. I have absolutely no drawing or painting aptitude whatsoever. I write. I'd like to think I'm good at that. Most of my acting ability comes from me imitating the acting mannerisms of the people that I've seen on film and television, and I have to admit I'm probably pretty terrible at that, but I am good at remembering dialogue that way. But that's neither here nor there. Needless to say, I took an art class, didn't do well in it. Took an art history class, didn't do well in that. I did do well in, obviously, you know, other stuff, of course, but those were not things that that were really good, that I was really good at. But I do like watching documentaries, and I actually do like museums. Usually when I travel, I'll go to local museums. The last time I was in D.C., I went to many of the Smithsonian art museums of art, which I totally recommend once the world is sane again. They had art and sculpture, even in some of the Smithsonian's that were specifically about, you know, American history or world history. They also had art pieces in there as well that I would totally recommend checking out yourselves. That were just free to look at and observe and you know, wonder about. And of course I visited the Louvre, and trust me, even though I only went once, probably 2 decades ago, I would go again, and I would go for several days. You could get lost at the Louvre just being there for several days. You know, in just, you know, looking at what they had on display. Museum I definitely wanted to check out, again, when the world is sane, would probably be the Frick collection over near Central Park in New York City, at the famous mansion over there, the Frick Mansion. Of course, when I was growing up, I didn't know it as the Frick Mansion. I'm sure many of you who might be comic book readers probably know of the Frick Mansion. You just don't know that you know of the Frick Mansion because you would know it by another name, the Avengers Mansion. The Avengers Mansion is real, and it's the Frick Museum, the Frick Collection Museum in New York. Where did it come from? Stan Lee said he was just walking down the street, saw a nice mansion, and said, you know, that's something that Tony Stark would live in. He would probably have donated it to the Avengers. That's going to be the reference for the Avengers Mansion. Knowledge of art, mostly tied into art history, of course, and probably not that deep, to be perfectly honest. But I do watch documentaries about that sort of thing. I totally would recommend for those of you guys who might be new HBO Max users. There was a couple of documentaries that HBO produced. They were on HBO Go. They're probably on HBO Max. One, which is appropriate for all ages as far as I'm concerned, is called The 3 Cents Box, which is about the Brillo box, specifically that Andy Warhol had created. Of course, it's a documentary on Andy Warhol and everything, and what happened to one of his pieces of art. So by all means, check, you know, I would totally recommend checking that out if you're able. For those of you who say, no, I want to see something that's more controversial, they also did a documentary about Mapplethorpe called Mapplethorpe, and I'm sure every art person that knows anything about art right now is going, oh, or they're going, ooh. And I will say nothing further. Needless to say, that's probably not a documentary for kids, certainly. It is not an all-ages documentary. But again, I'm sure the people who know about art probably have guessed that already. And I will talk no further about it. And I also saw I also like watching documentaries. Like there's a documentary that was on Crackle a while ago. I remember seeing it on DVD a while ago, called My Kid Could Paint That, which to me was about the art gallery. The art gallery and the history of, like, you know, and kind of like, well, what's buying and selling art and making art like in today's day and age when it comes to marketability for art. And I would probably argue, probably positive or negative, that's probably as far as my art knowledge goes. Now, obviously, I've been to art shows. I had a friend that actually went to an art college, and they had many shows where they had art that they had created on display that I attended and checked out, and I looked at the art that they had done and that their peers had done, and it was a really good show. Some of the art was for sale, a lot of it was not. But I decided about a year ago, half a year ago, to actually attend a home goods trade show, or basically a convention, a trade show where homeowners could basically go to look up, sprucing up their houses. And these guys were selling everything from these were all local vendors mostly, that would be selling everything from windows, doors, security systems, roofs, to other people that would be selling, utility upgrades like new home water heaters and stuff, or exercise equipment, or there'd be a beds vendor. And it was a fun show. I mean, I went because my fiance was there at the show, doing as one of the vendors, and so I got in with her, and we had a fun time. And amongst the vendors were artists, local artists that had huge art displays. This piece of art called to me. I don't know what to do. I was walking the trade show floor, and even looking at it right now, I've had it in storage for a couple of months. I'm thinking about framing it, and when I get my own place, I certainly want to hang it up when I get my own place. But I just haven't. Right now, it's just in storage, and along with another piece of art over here, which my fiance got me as a birthday gift from the same show, from a different artist, and she framed that one. But this one right here is probably going to go up probably in the same place, in the same house, but definitely probably a different room or something. This would be hanging up in like a game room, or a theater room, or what do you call it? A living room. So yeah, let me explain what had happened. I looked at this one, and he had a couple of other pieces that were up, including a likeness of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker that I think he might still have up. I don't think he sold it yet, because last I checked, it was up on the artist's Instagram. This wasn't, so that tells me maybe he does delete, images from his Instagram of work he's sold. But I did get him to confirm that I did find the guy on Twitter. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but if you just that's his signature. If you just that, you're gonna find him. And so yeah, I called him. It just called me out, and I walked over to it. This was at the beginning of the show on the first day, and he had all these beautiful pieces of art, all different kinds of stuff too, including the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. But this one just called to me, and as I'm sure you're looking at it, you could probably see why. And yeah, I walked up to him, and I had never bought art before, ever. I had never bought art in my life, and I didn't know anything about buying art other than what I had seen in the documentary My Kid Could Paint That. So I walk up to him, I look directly at the art, I look directly at him, and he knows he got me. He knew he had hooked a fish. Fine. I have no problem with that. You put out you hold this up, this is going to be bait for somebody, and it just so happened to be me. I accept that. And I told him flat out, I said, this one's calling to me. Give me a price. And we negotiated a little bit. I threw out a counter offer. I think I knocked $15 to $20 off of his total price. And he accepted. The thing is that I couldn't get this off. I couldn't just pick it up and take it with me because we were still, at the show floor. And I didn't want to bring this to the booth because I didn't want people to see our booth and think that this was, you know, part of the booth or for sale or something. So I decided to see how good my lingo was. And if you guys are art collectors, please post a comment and tell me how bad my lingo is. I asked the guy to red tag it for me. Now, as I was paying for this, and he gave me a receipt, of course, you know, all on the up and up, I said, look, I want this. Obviously, I'm paying for it, but can you please, and I said this, could you red tag it? Hoping that that was the proper lingo. I have no idea if it is. But I said, look, I need you to red tag this because I can't pick this up just now because I'm going to be here on the show floor all day, just like I'm sure you are. Can you red tag this, mark it sold, and say it was, you know, and just leave it here or leave it somewhere else on the booth, and I will swear I'll come and pick it up just before the show the show ends for the day. But the guy was like, yeah, I could do that. And I kept my receipt, of course, but I'm sure the guy recognized me. And I walked away. I'd occasionally come back to look at it. He put a big sold sign on it, is what he did, like a big tag on. You know, he left it hanging up on his gallery, which is fine. You know, art galleries sold, you know, sold arts. They do stay up. They don't go down. They do stay up. They just tag them. It's like they're sold, but they do stay up for the people that are at the gallery to view. And I picked it up at the end of the day, about 15 minutes before the show ended. I'm saying, I'm here for this. He knew I was there. He was happy to see me. I think he was worried that I had left and that he'd have to lug it back with him. And I took it. I brought it home. And it's basically been sitting here for about, probably around 6 months or so, give or take. Maybe a little bit longer than that. But isn't it great? I mean, when I was a kid, I had an NES. I played these games. Whether I had a copy of them or one of my cousins had a copy of them, I played so many of these games. And while I don't have an NES anymore, or most of the games that are on this list anymore, when they became available on like virtual console services, starting with the Wii, and now of course the 3DS, and now of course the Switch, yes, I bought these games. I will admit that. Because they're still just as good. And they still just, you know, play just as well. And they're, the, you know, on those platforms. I will buy them again. I have no problem with that. So that's my experience with the very first piece of art that I ever had. The reason why I'm posting up this video is I kind of want your opinion on this. Particularly, I'd like to hear from art collectors or something. Did I have the lingo right? Is red tag a thing? All I know is that when I saw the documentary, My Kid Could Paint That, when art was sold, like I said before, when art was sold during a gallery showing, and this is true for even when I attended my own galleries at my friend's college, art college, they wouldn't mark sold on the painting or cover up the painting. What they do is they'd stick a piece of red tape or a small bit of red tape or you know, like a sticky red thing next to the art. And I remember, and I assume that it was basically just called red tag. Now, for those of you who might be in the post office or something, red tag or, you know, equipment or something, red tag means something else entirely. It means dangerous piece of equipment that needs to be fixed. So I get that. There might be that too. But in art, I'm pretty certain red tag means sold. And you just stick a red tag next to it. But you can still look at it while the gallery is going on. And then when the gallery showing is over, the piece of art or sculpture or whatever basically is given to the buyer once they present a proper receipt or something. That's, you know, if my nomenclature is wrong, please tell me. As for what I want to do with it, like I said, I do want to hang it up in my home. When my fiance and I have a home together, I do want it to be something hanging up there. And maybe as for what to do with it, a frame, you know, certainly a frame would be cool. That'd be pretty awesome, I think. Who knows? You know, as for the possibilities are pretty high with that. Post your comments below on what you think I should do with it. Oh, and by the way, here's the artist's official Twitter feed. If you add that, then you can look at his work. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Maniac with GameAccess.net. Take care. Over and out.